AI is rapidly shifting how we organize and work. But if we want a human-centered future, we can't just react to technology. We are all agents in shaping change. Let's help technology and talent work better together.
About some of the work that you've done in the past with Google when you were working with Brave in Africa, and just curious if you could share a little bit about what you did in that space and maybe how that connects to what we've talked about also, which is potentially doing a boot camp for HR professionals in the space of AI to get that level 1 or level 2 competency.
Yeah. In the case of Google for Startups, we have companies anywhere between 10 and 200 people that are growing fast, usually venture-backed, usually in highly competitive, highly active markets that haven't made any investments in HR usually. And they need to set up systems for people as founders and then set up systems for HR after that. Essentially, as founders, they need to be HR, and then they need to transition into building the HR function. So what I did is develop a series of quick, we call them design sprints, but they're quick activities to pick apart certain problems in your organization, diagnose them, come up with a solution that can be implemented, and then test that. So it might be to how to recruit. It might be how to do performance management. It might be how to promote. It might be how to do executive compensation. Any of those topics, and we just do one or a couple of days session to quickly get to the bottom of everything you need to know to build people systems within a context of a high-paced startup environment. And the idea here is, while most of the people who are serious about adopting AI into HR have kind of the basics covered of an HR function, they are in a similar situation in that they're going from 0 to 1 at a super high pace in a fast-moving environment in the context of AI. So what we thought we would do is build something similar in terms of experience, so focus on design sprints, focus on problem solving for your organization around talent and tech. So how does technology and mostly AI come in? How does it help us or not help us or get in the way of work that we're trying to achieve? And then how can you quickly apply it to those various domains? So it could be the same domains. How can you apply AI to your recruiting process? How can you apply AI to your assessment process, succession process? How can you apply AI to employee experience, onboarding, etc.? So what will happen is we'll essentially give a series of analyses, quick diagnostics on company situation, questionnaires, also some basic facts, background to kind of break out what are the most critical problems to work on, and then develop a mini session that can say, here's how to look at those problems, here's some methods for developing solutions, and then how can you then translate that into adopting a specific AI tool or potentially customizing one of your own to solve that problem. This is hopefully going to help people figure out what tech can actually help work with our talent and improve our HR function, and to kind of test and build out various concepts that you could potentially have on your HR development roadmap.
That's nice. I love that. And I know we've talked about the idea that like the employee experience is the macro, and you can start there, and with things simple like search and being able to improve employee experience by allowing people to find the information they need for onboarding, for career development, skills development, learning, etc. But from that exploration of the career development and employee experience, you might uncover areas in succession you want to go deeper, in skills taxonomy you want to go deeper, in onboarding, etc. So there is this exploration process that Brave can take you through, which is great. And I actually was a customer of Brave as a head of talent, where we did a succession simulation, which was really, really powerful for predicting when people would leave, and also candidates that would be viable to move into that role. And the other thing that I'm thinking about, though, is the current tech stack. So as a head of talent, part of my roles have been to look at the tech stack that we have, look at the effectiveness and the efficiency of the technologies, how they coexist, the integrations or lack thereof, the places where we might have duplication, the cost of it all, how at the end of the day the experiences, as we just talked about, for the users. And so another thing that Brave does, correct me if I'm wrong, is there is this opportunity for Brave to come in and do an evaluation of the ecosystem of the current technology, and then have a summary of that, and then recommendations for how to optimize, including potentially other types of AI. Is that correct?
Yeah, again, we're taking a human-centered approach. So we'll always want to look at both the tech and talent at the same time. We'll ask questions about what is the talent expecting? Could be talent as in HR employees if it's internally facing tools, but always taking the human into account, whether or not they're getting what they want to get done. We call that need finding. And then on the tech side, absolutely performance assessment. Is it actually delivering on those needs? Is it doing that in a way that creates value, as in, we're not spending more on it than we need to be, and it's not creating more work for us. And then evaluating that against the ecosystem. So how does our tech stack compare to alternatives? And are there customizations or work process changes or even new technologies that could be used to help address some of our problems? That's called an opportunity map. So it's essentially a map of various different investments that we could make into our existing technology or with new technology that would improve us reaching our goals as a function. So one last thing is once the assessment is kind of done, what will make that prescriptive or useful is then saying, how does our current situation compare to our vision? So making sure we have a very clear picture of where we're trying to get to, and then understanding the pathway and being creative about that. It's not just an analytical process. We have to think creatively about what we want to change and who we want to become as a team in HR as well. But that's where the real value is added.
Absolutely. And my view on this, having worked with you and many providers over the 25 years that I've been in the space, and actually been a consultant as well, advising Fortune
Yeah.
200 companies, is that we are kind of like fish in water. Like, we don't know we're in water until we're pulled out, and oftentimes we're so focused on the short term that looking at the bigger picture and the strategy and maybe the 3-year roadmap for tech is harder. Sometimes you can do it internally, but sometimes having the help of a third party, thought partners to really take the time and help make sense of where we are and where we want to go is really value add, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, one thing I'll say is, like, and you said this earlier, is like, stopping to assess and looking around and then using what you're seeing around you in the current state to then help you plan for the future is so healthy, but oftentimes something that we don't put into practice maybe as much as we should as HR leaders.
Great point. I want to just make one last comment, which is that making decisions is always easier with more context or with enough perspective. The more perspective you have, the higher up on that mountain you are, the easier it is to understand whether or not things are working as a whole. So it's kind of usual to try to make decisions about each technology one by one. It's like, this technology is better than that one and has more features and is a better price. And that's good. Those need to happen. But we also need to consider, how does this technology fit into our ecosystem? So that's the tech stack. And also, how does it relate to all the activities people are trying to accomplish? Are we duplicating functionality? Are we using technologies that are getting in each other's way? Is there sort of a bigger opportunity here to plug things together in a way that allows us to work in a more optimal fashion? That comes from asking questions about, what do we want to be as an organization? How do we expect to serve people? And how is technology helping us do that or not? So it's always a good idea when you're thinking about adopting new technology to ask yourself the big goals as well as those small goals, and to make decisions that include both.
Yeah, well said. And I said this before, but I'll end on this point, which is, speed oftentimes can be the enemy of alignment as well as clarity. And so having the discipline to slow down and take stock of the current state, as you said, the big goals and the tactical goals for now is so healthy.